And we are live. Welcome to the Brown Bag Business Chat. I am your temporary host, Adam Fout, the content writer at Blue Steel Solutions, and I have Bridget Willard.
Hi.
Who is the marketing guru over at WordImpress and Give and like 500 other places. What is your actual title and job? Give us a
My
little
actual title is marketing manager at WordImpress.
All right, there you go.
A plugin manufacturer in San Diego who makes the Give plugin, which is democratizing generosity.
I can tell that you practice that quite a bit. Yeah, no, it's okay. Work on your 30-second elevator speech. And today we're going to talk about Twitter lists because Bridget is a Twitter guru. In fact, that is how you got to the point you're at today, was basically through Twitter, right?
Twitter changed my life. If there was a secular religious experience, that would be it. It's that life-changing. I mean, think about it. It's 2007. I'm listening to Leo Laporte. I'm an office manager, and I start this Twitter thing. It's ridiculous. You're telling people what you ate for breakfast or whatever, but then you're finding people throughout the world. I actually wrote a song with somebody I met on Twitter. We never met in person. Actually, 2 songs. And then when the economy went really bad in 2009, I said, why not? I'll just try it for Riggins Construction. And it ended up being a wild success.
Yeah, you grew that account to over 20,000 followers, right?
Yeah, it took 6 years, but I didn't buy any of them. Somebody asked me, did you buy those followers? No, I did not. I earned that with every single tweet. Thank you very much. And that's when I realized that there was something to this relationship marketing thing.
Right. So you've been doing Twitter basically since it came out. And that's why we wanted to talk to you about Twitter lists. You've written extensively about Twitter on your blog, bridgetwillard.com.
Yep.
And one of the things that you harp on, that I know just from interacting with you on social media, is you harp on lists again and again and again.
It's a kind way to nag, yes.
But you recommend it, you write about it. When other people write about it, you come on and say, yes, I wrote about that and I love it. And so we just wanted to talk lists today because for someone who's new to Twitter, they might not even know Twitter lists exist. It might be something that they, because, it's not necessarily an obvious feature. So what is a Twitter list? What are we talking about here?
So I'm glad you asked. So Twitter lists are the most underutilized marketing tool of Twitter. Okay. For one thing, there's several ways you could use it, but basically a Twitter list is when you decide you're going to put a group of people on a list.
Okay.
Not to use the same word, but it's basically, genius. Yeah, I know. So what happens is when you set up your profile and you go to follow somebody, you can, there's like a little gear logo, and you could click on that and you can say add to a list. If you don't have any lists, that's when it will prompt you to create a list. So the most important part about that is that the list makes sense to you because you're going to use them.
Yeah. So let me just do a very quick screen share here so that I can show people what we're talking about here. So probably need to expand this just a little bit. So when I click here, there are my lists, right?
Yes.
And then I can look at them, and here's all my different lists that I have here, and they all have weird names because I'm strange. But so that is, there we go. So that's a Twitter list, and that's where you find them. But that's not the only program that uses lists, right? So you don't usually use the Twitter client itself, right? You use something else.
Well, here's the thing. So there's several reasons for the lists. Let's talk about why you want a list.
Yeah, let's back up. I got excited. I'm sorry.
For sure. Okay, so you can have like up to 1,000 lists. It used to be only 20, so you had to be really careful about what you did. But now it's basically infinite. Who's going to have 1,000 lists?
So you can have up to 1,000 lists, and you can have 5,000 people on each list.
Something like that. It's in my blog post.
That's basically infinite. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
effectively.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so like, for instance, I have actual friends I know, and so they're going to get lost
Yeah.
Because Twitter is almost like the stock market ticker. It just keeps going on by.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to miss, you know, a tweet from my sister.
Yeah.
So if I have her on a list, then I could just go to that list. What the list does is it filters out everybody who's not on it. So a lot of times people will say, I don't want to follow everybody back. It's too much noise in my feed. And that's when I know that they don't know how to use a list. Because that's exactly why you have it. Because if something's happening in the world and I just want to look at my news, then I just go to my news list.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you want it for, and your business and what's going on. But for me, I want it for my friends. I don't.
So they're filters, basically.
They are filters. That's exactly what they're doing, and they're only showing you the tweets in that list.
And so what I think can be why new users especially might not be aware of them or even see why they would need them is because in the beginning you might only be following or have you know, you might have 20 followers or 50 followers or something, and so you're like, why do I need this? They're all right there in my home feed. But then you get into that problem where it's like, well, you know, I'm not following people back because I don't want them cluttering my home feed, where that's not really the best way to think about how to use like following.
Right. Okay. So if you're just Joe Blow and you just want to be on Twitter because you want to waste time, that's fine. Okay. But if you are Joe Blow's Garage and Lube, then that's a different purpose, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for business, you definitely want lists. And depending upon your style of business, I recommend having a list based upon geography. Most businesses are brick and mortar. And by parallel industries. So when I was doing construction, we were only doing construction in Orange County. So I followed Orange County people and I put them on a list called Orange County.
Yeah.
That was our county. That's where we are.
Okay.
And that's where we work.
Makes
so
sense.
Those people are important to us. But we used to get a lot of leads from real estate brokers. So that's my parallel.
Okay.
Right. So real estate people, and then you start thinking about what's another industry you want to follow and things like that. For WordImpress, we're a software company, so we're global.
Yeah.
And so what's important to us is people who use WordPress.
Right.
So I have a WordPressers list, but we still care about other industries. Like we make a lot of plugins that are good for restaurants. So I have a restaurant list.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I'm looking for, I didn't mean to jump ahead, but
oh no, it's okay. Go ahead.
What's important is when I'm looking for things to share. That's one reason. When I'm looking for things to share, then I could just go to that list, and it's easy for me to find things to share.
Yeah, and I mean that's what one of the main values is for me as a as a social media manager or community manager, or whatever you want to call it, is that I know where I can find content to share easily and quickly, and I know where the people that have the good content are because I've put them there. I've been able to say, you know, this is and I can even create lists for people who have like. Every now and then they get something good, but a lot of what they post is like personal stuff that doesn't matter to me or that's not useful to me. So I see that a lot in, you know, in some communities. So I can say, okay, this guy, every now and then something really good comes out, but a lot of it is personal. So I'll put him in a separate list so that I know that I can filter that one out and I don't see all his personal tweets when I don't need to. So it lets me kind of, lets me personalize the Twitter experience for myself for what I need, for whatever purpose I need.
Right. So there's selfish reasons, and then there's branding reasons. So there's layers and layers of why this is important.
Yeah.
So for Give, I have a list of Give users. So those are our clients.
And what is Give, real quick?
Give is a plugin that helps you collect funds for donations.
Yeah, and we actually just used that on a website that we built for a friend of mine, and it's worked very well.
Yeah. Yes, and we just came out with recurring donations, so it's very exciting.
It is exciting.
But so when you have a business, usually your clients are your favorite people.
Right.
Because that's how you have money in the bank. So like simple stuff, right?
Yeah.
So those are the people you want to share, and you want to encourage them. So also like for Give, we work a lot with nonprofits. So I have a list for nonprofits.
Yeah.
Okay. So also we have people that run the company, and that's our team. And I care about what they say. Right. So I want to read their tweets. They're the most important people to me because they're defining our company culture.
Yeah.
When I was running the tweets for WordCamp Los Angeles, the most important tweets to me were the ones from the organizers, and then the next were the ones from the speakers.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you set your list up. If you think about it ahead, it's easier.
Yeah.
Like, who is important to you? Whose tweets matter the most? But also, you can kind of reward your super fans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're really creative about your names. You're way more creative. But you could totally have a list that says super fans.
Yeah, right.
This one, or you could say super duper fans, or I don't know.
Number one, the best ever.
Yeah, the best.
And so they'll see it, right? When I add someone to a list, unless I've set it to private, they'll see that I've added them to the list. So
they will see that, and other people will see it, because when you go to their account and look at the list, you'll see what list they're members of.
Yeah, yeah. So that is important. You don't want to make a list that's like jerk faces that I hate and never want to talk to, because
not unless you want to be blocked. I would not recommend that at all.
Yeah. So just even naming the list is probably a good idea, to think ahead a little bit, because realizing that these are not just for me. And I think it can be easy for a new user to see this and say, oh, these are just for me, I guess. You know, I'm the one, I can see them, but everyone can.
No, it's a good marketing tool, because you don't have to follow the people that you list.
Yeah.
So if that's a weird thing for you, like I follow everybody.
Yeah.
That isn't spam or porn or follow back team, whatever.
They're so cool, that team follow back.
Yeah, they're getting clever. Or the buy my Instagram, buy my Facebook, buy my whatever. Okay, so so if you want to, kind of reward, I think that we forget that people like to be appreciated and accepted as humans. This is part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
We get away from this. We think because it's a computer that people aren't on the other side, and they are. And if you have somebody that's constantly retweeting you and always sharing your content, I would definitely put them on the list that says #1 fan, or these are my favorite supporters, or something like that. If it's a brand, if you're selling skateboards or something like that, you could say something skateboard related, like gnarly dudes or something like that, right?
Totally tubular.
Yeah, or the half pike all-star. I don't know. I'm not a skateboarder. Yeah, I just realized I dug myself into an analogy I couldn't get.
I do that all the time.
I learned the hard way, so you don't have to. So anyway, because they will get a notification that says, Bridget Willard just added you to the list, gnarly dudes.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's a good point, because I do the same thing. If someone is going to follow us and they look like a good fit, or I know that they're, they're not spam, basically, then I'm going to follow them back. And, but so that's not always feasible. It might be someone where you're like, this is someone that I really appreciate their follow, and I can tell they're not spam, and there's not anything necessarily wrong with what they're doing. However, for this account, it might not be appropriate for us to follow. Right.
But you still want to know what they're saying.
Exactly. So, put them on a list or something,
Yes.
So yeah.
Those lists can be loaded up in Hootsuite. I'm sure there's other tools like TweetDeck, which I loved before it was bought by Twitter.
Yeah.
Some people like Sprout Social, whatever. People ask me a lot. They say, Bridget, what tool do you use to monitor Twitter notifications?
They say it just like that.
They do. They say, Bridget, which tool do you use? And I say, Twitter. So even though I love Hootsuite and I use Hootsuite Pro and they get $15 a month from me, they're not as good at telling you everything as Twitter is.
Yeah.
They don't tell you when you get retweeted. It's kind of annoying. There's some
Yeah.
other things. The new comment retweet, you don't even get a notification that you're mentioned. So it's really good to be native.
Yeah.
So I always recommend staying in your app. You can do it on your phone. It's not really that big of a deal. But what's great about Hootsuite is that either on desktop or mobile, when you set up your columns, they can be a list, they can be a search of a hashtag. That's another episode. And those, they can be right there. So I can have my first column is everybody. Next column mentions direct messages, which are usually a waste of time. My favorites, it could be our team, it could be client 1, client list 1, client list 2, client list 3, like whatever, okay?
Yeah.
So you could just open Hootsuite, scroll that column, and just read those tweets. And this is the reason why this is so important is because of listening. Now, I know Blue Steel Solutions is super big on personas.
Yes.
Because that was how I learned that word existed. From reading your blogs.
Well, that's why I'm glad we introduced something.
I did not know that was a thing. I just put people on a list and read their tweets.
Right.
So if you don't know how to set up your audience persona, spend some time reading what they say.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's I sorry.
they might be super into like NASCAR or whatever, you know, you don't. So if you make it's like Yoast SEO, okay? So when you put in the title and the snippet and the meta and the keyword, you're grading yourself. It's grading you based upon what you said was true. So you could have a green light and it could be awesome, but you can never be found.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the green light makes you feel good, but maybe it's not.
Sometimes
it wasn't the right keyword in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the persona, I think, is a great idea, and I'm totally 100% for it because I love everything you guys do. I probably owe you tuition for a lot that I've learned. However, I think that sometimes that can be presumptive.
Yeah. And that's why it's good to have data to back those up. Like you don't want to. It's good. It can be good in the beginning to come up with a persona that because you don't know what the heck you're doing. You need somewhere to start. But going down the road and taking that data and saying, okay, and the data in this case is just seeing who are these actual people who are actually following us and what are they like and what do they want.
So once you start following your customers or your other segmented audiences, to be all marketing speak over here, you have these people on lists and you can sit there and read their tweets. So if they're into Japanese anime or if they're going to the next word camp or if they really love this or they really love that, or you can kind of even get a feel of the inside jokes and the culture, and you can get a sense of who the people are.
Now, this sounds suspiciously to me like there's reading involved, and I'm going to have to spend time not doing things but reading tweets.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing. It's like you just need to duct tape your hands together and read. Because it's very tempting to say, oh, blah, 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 and you just want to
like
just
that.
get
That's
involved.
Every one of your tweets is a total strings of letters.
Sorry, little kids when they learn speech, they just at first they learn the sound.
No, you're right.
They're like la 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 blah blah blah, because it doesn't really matter what the content is because it's going to be different for every business.
Right.
So, but it's also a good way to show empathy. So if somebody says, "Oh man, I'm stuck in the hospital," you can say, "Oh, that's so sad face," and then they can bond with you, and then it's not creepy as long as it's not creepy. There's a fine line. Like you don't want to be a stalker, right? But you do want to care because that's the whole point of being on Twitter is to humanize your brand.
Yeah.
There are real people on the other side of the land cord.
Yeah, so, we actually just had something like that happen where we got a message on Facebook from a young guy who's interested in marketing, and he said, "Hey, I just have some questions about I think I want to apply for this job or get into marketing. What should I know?" And so I wrote him a message, and he was like, I really don't know what he was expecting, but I don't think he expected a response or a detailed response. So it gives us that chance to say that, hey, we're not just Blue Steel Solutions, this weird giant in the background that builds stuff. We are people here and we do stuff and we're happy to help you.
Yeah, and I think that people forget that, and the technology is dehumanizing.
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk talks, I think, in his book, The Thank You Economy, which I didn't read. I just watched his videos.
Okay.
I did read Jab, 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 Right Hook, and I recommend it.
Okay.
But I came to Gary Vaynerchuk late, and I watch all his shows and stuff. So
Mhm.
heavily influenced by Gary V. But he was saying how he had a customer at the winelibrary.com. I think he ordered a crap load of wine for his daughter's wedding or something. So he saw that he tweeted that he liked some football person. I don't know who it was. So he ordered him a jersey, and he had that sent to him. So instead of just sending him some generic thank you gift, he knew what that guy would have liked.
Yeah.
Because he was reading his customers' tweets.
Yeah. And that made that relationship much, much better, I'm sure.
Right. So there's several reasons. There's reasons for you to find and curate content. So if you curate people, that's why I always say be a people curator.
Yeah.
If you curate people, it's easy to curate content. So number one, make your life easier. Okay. So I don't think you should necessarily automate everything, but I think it should be easier.
Yeah, yeah.
Once you know people produce good content, you can put them on a list. You can. It's not that hard to, share that, and then you look like you're such a great person. And then the evil Bond genius part is then they feel obligated to you to share yours. This is the subconscious part of sales, right? The guy doesn't show up with donuts at your office because he doesn't want you to buy from him.
Right,
it's not like he wants to be your BFF and go bowling next weekend. I mean, we forget that relationships exist for sales, and that's not for the only reason. I mean,
right. But
in the business world,
yeah,
we're not shoving our business card in people's faces. But the fact that your brother-in-law is a plumber, you're going to use him, or you're never going to be invited over for dinner again.
Yeah, right.
This is reality. This is the way it's always been. The relationships matter. So if you pay attention to your certain group of people and you spend time, supporting them, whether it's sharing their content, being empathetic when they tweet something, congratulating them.
Yeah.
Like for us, we have a lot of people who are website developers. Those are people that build websites. They're called developers.
Right.
Well, I didn't know that.
In the wild, that's what they're
just
called.
saying.
Yeah.
To me, a developer is somebody who buys a parcel of land and puts condos on it. But in the website world, a developer is somebody who takes a blank piece of digital real estate and then builds a website. So in case anybody in the audience doesn't know that, like I didn't, now you know. But anyway, so they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I launched a site for a client today, woo!" And so you could say, "Kudos, congratulations, you rock," whatever.
Yeah, and it costs you almost nothing to do that.
It takes 40 seconds, and they're sitting taller in their chair.
Yeah.
And then they remember you, and those feelings of euphoria and a connection are associated with your logo. So make sure that's a good one, obviously. But so when you're trolling your list, that's a really bad word.
Yeah, let's perhaps use
when you're spending time on your list,
yes,
you can read to see who your audience is. You can tweak your persona based upon those results. You can connect with them emotionally.
Now, do lists have any drawbacks? Are there any? Have you found yourself getting stuck in lists and foregoing everyone else before?
Okay, that's a great question, Adam. I'm glad you asked it.
Thank you.
It can be a rut. I find myself like, oh man, I am totally in a rut. So I actually have a habit of spending 5 minutes at least a day on my home feed.
Okay.
Because you never know who's going to be that next person. See, this is what I think people really miss by not following other people back. Okay. You look at somebody followed you, you look at their Twitter profile, in 5 seconds you decide that person is meaningless and irrelevant to you.
Right.
That's
crazy.
This is reality.
Yeah.
5 seconds, you don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
Furthermore, you don't know who they know. And you don't know if they'll be important to you. And there's a lot of snobbery involved. I noticed that I didn't get people following me till I had 10,000 followers.
Well.
And you're like, wow, so now I'm important to you? I see how it is. I've been following you since I was at 200.
Right. I feel like you have a very specific person in mind.
No, it's happened several times. It's just the way that it is. People, they get upset about volume of tweeting and things like
Right.
that, but that's how you build your account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the truth is, if you want to share 3 of your own posts a day, you should be sharing about 7 of somebody else.
Yeah.
So then you need volume.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
So this
have
is
to.
the reality of how it works.
Yeah.
And then you forget the people refer each other.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like
referrals.
I mean, if you're only like I'm never gonna follow anyone because it's somehow magically better for me to have lots of followers and few that I'm following, then you just have there's just so much you can miss out on because you don't know. Are they gonna if I had interacted with this person who followed me and they referred me over here, what if some business had to come out of that? I think you close yourself off to opportunities.
Yeah, learning, growing as a person, personal development, those kinds of things. But also think about how often people change jobs.
Yeah.
Now, I was in mine for 9 years, and I saw a lot of people change jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And those business relationships don't change.
Yeah.
So you still have a relationship with them. You take them to the next place.
Yeah.
So it's really important. I just feel like it's a really great tool that people just don't use.
Yeah, it is. And it's free. It doesn't cost me anything. It's part of Twitter. It's built right in.
It actually saves you time.
Oh, it totally does. Yeah. Especially when I think one of the biggest problems for people who are using social media, especially starting out for their businesses, they're like, I don't have time to do all this. I don't have time to find stuff to tweet out that looks good. Well, if I have if you take the time, set up some lists, because they're not, the lists don't have to be your followers. There can be lists of people that you follow that are going to put out good content. You don't have to wait till you get followers to do these. You set up your list. You say, I know that these 5 people are always going to be, or these 10 or 20 or 30 people are always going to have good content. And when I'm in a rush and I don't have time to do social media, I can go to that list and share their stuff. So at the very least, I have some content to put out. And then that way, when I come back, if I still don't have time, at least I've shared people's stuff and they probably interacted with me, so I can engage and work on relationships and not worry about, having nothing to do on there because I don't know what to share in the first place.
Exactly. It's like setting up an office. You have filing cabinets for a reason. You don't just have a stack of papers in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to go find something to share, or you need to find a contact, of course you have your CRM or whatever like that. So this is the same concept.
Yeah.
No, you would never save all of your files on your computer on your desktop.
Right.
Have a folder. This is just a normal part of life. And I feel like people have a poor experience, or they're not happy with their experience on Twitter.
Yeah. Because
they haven't set up their life this way.
Yeah.
And I always say, if you don't like it, I double dog dare you to just try it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you get a full money back guarantee.
Mm-hmm. And you have to follow a double dog dare. You're not allowed.
You have to follow a double dog dare.
There's no way out.
That's why the kid licked the pole.
Exactly. Well, we're just about out of time. So do you have any
I double dog dare you to set up lists today.
Done. They're already set up. So do you have any last tips about Twitter lists that you wanted to share with us today?
Set them up. Just start thinking of, it'll take a long time if you already have an account set up to go backwards. So just go forwards. Think about the first list that's really important to you. Probably clients. Yeah. Or potential clients, or your client demographic, or your persona. Yeah. Start with that, because once you start supporting those people, you're gonna be top of mind. Yeah. That's the other important reason. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So just start small. Don't overwhelm yourself and think you have to spend a whole weekend doing this. Just start with one list and just start building it. It doesn't have to be complete. You could put 2 people on it and then wait till next week. Spend 10 minutes. Turn on an egg timer or timer on your phone and just do 10 minutes, because otherwise you'll overwhelm yourself and then you will do 0. Yeah. Just like going to the gym or something. Yeah. Just a little bit at a time is good. Well, thank you so much for educating us about Twitter lists. So Bridget Willard, once again, so your website is bridgetwillard.com. And what are tell us a little about WordPress and Give and all their stuff that they've got going on. WordPress has several plugins. Yeah. And one of them is Give, which their website is givewp.com. They just came out with recurring donation add-on, which has been a long awaited, and everybody's super excited.
Very cool.
Also, WordImpress has several API-driven plugins like Yelp Widget Pro, Google Places Reviews, and Maps Builder Pro, which are super awesome. And also Woo Quick Checkout. So, I mean, there's several plugins, but also we're churning out kind of a lot of content.
Yeah.
And we believe in support. So we're big deal support people. And yeah, it's a great company. And they're based in San Diego, California.
In gorgeous San Diego, California.
Gorgeous San Diego, yes.
Well, thank you very much for coming on today, Bridget. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.